What's going on, everyone? Hopefully, you can all hear me and the audio is good. Welcome to the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by Sleeper. Thank you so much for joining us and wading through all of that. We have a game to talk about. Blazers get their third straight win. Let's see. Um, hopefully, everyone can hear me.
And hopefully everybody can hear me. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Um,
So
what's
anytime,
going on?
anytime I bring up, dang it, I can't look at the screen because it
What's up?
I don't know how to fix that. And anytime I look at the the chat or the screen, it takes away your.
Just make sure it's not maximized. Yeah. This is why we do all the collab cam stuff. Um, but yeah, what's going on, everybody? So Xfinity outage in my area. All right. This is why I'm literally kicked back in a chair right now. We don't have our normal setup. Eric's running things here. And yeah, hopefully the audio is good enough. Hopefully the internet's good enough. I'm not even using Wi-Fi right now. So I actually thought we went live and I did a whole intro and it didn't count.
I'm like, I don't think we're live.
Yeah. I
Uh,
played the intro video and everything, but yeah, I so I'm actually comfortable, but it sucks, building all the graphics for the stream, ready to talk about third straight win, and then internet. Literally, it's not even my house; it's an Xfinity outage. I think across the area. So, was planning to do a shot night tonight. Probably won't do that unless my internet comes back and we can run a stream normally. But yeah, still happy to be here and happy to break down another Blazers win, even though the late game stuff needs to be talked about. Um,
Man, I should be
yeah.
doing a couch stream right now because I we put our Christmas tree in a different spot this year, so I can't really have it in the background when I'm sitting at the table. So I should do a couch stream one of these days too. So we can
I
get some
know, I
more
know. Maybe
Christmas
that should be an
drifting.
event. Maybe that should be an event night, couch stream night.
Yeah, exactly. Mubsy with a $7 Canadian donation. Thanks, Mubsy. My first 10 drinks deep Blazers Uprise watch. Wow, he's putting in some work tonight. Gonna get that Tory eye uh,
Mm,
problem. Hopefully not, but
nah, that's a normal night for Mubsy. That's a normal night for
oh,
Mubsy. So,
he's built
it's
he's
yeah,
built for
them
10
Canadians
drinks.
are built different.
Yeah. But yeah, the Blazers win their third straight. They only scored 98 points, but only give up 93. Like you mentioned, there's some very poor late game execution once again. It felt like several times the Blazers were going to pull away and just could not find it in them to like keep a lead in this one. And then they were up seven with like 50 some seconds left, and it's like, oh man, they hit a three to cut it to four. Then they steal. They trap Sharpe in the corner, get a steal, and luckily they threw it away after that. I think again, they might have missed a three to cut it to one at one point, but the Blazers hold on, find a way to win. I think without Jeremy Grant added on top of all the other injuries we have, I think that should be the theme. Just if you can get wins, just get them and don't really complain about how you get them. Of course, we'll break down why they're struggling, even with teams like the Kings and stuff like that. But in my opinion, this is just important to get the victory, just like it was on Thursday night, and stack your third win together. Nice 3 game winning streak. You got a couple of very tough games coming up on Monday and Tuesday, but yeah, they're much better coming off a 3 game win streak than if you would have lost one of these to the Kings. So just get the job done, and they did that. I really feel like one of the stories in addition to the late game execution, Tori, is this team like really just lacks that ability to put your foot down and put a game away. They always seem to just they play well for a stretch or someone takes over like Denny or Shea both did at times tonight, and then they just find a way to make a bunch of stupid mistakes and blow an assignment on defense or have a bad turnover leading to a fast break, and they can never seem to just um, put their foot on the gas, unless they're playing Golden State. I guess they're able to do that. But what do you think about that? Um, is that just like a young team learning how to win and stuff like that, or is that like something that maybe this team just doesn't have?
Yeah, well, first off, side note, chat is wild. Chat needs to calm down, all right? Um, Number two, I think in this game, the starters put their foot on the gas every time they were in the game. I don't know what the plus minuses were, but it was basically the bench just got outplayed. In the first and third quarter, the starters built a lead in this game, and then the bench comes in, and the bench was awful today. Robert Williams was really the only player worth even talking about in this game. Like City Sissoko had a pretty rough game.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Murray was in the starting lineup with Jeremy Grant out, so you got Caleb Love, and he was pretty bad outside of one nice left hand finish. Um, there just wasn't any good off the bench, and their bench played pretty well. Dennis Schroeder had 21. Nick Clifford played well. Dylan Cardwell gave him good energy minutes. He's
Yeah.
been good on a two-way form. Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying, man, yeah, Cardwell was really brought the energy tonight. Uh, man, you hate that as a Blazer fan, but I mean, come on, when he did the box to Tamani, that was just the awareness to do that in that situation. That we would have been going crazy if that was one of our guys doing that to Tamani on another team. Like.
Yeah, I don't even know if he knew that was a Tamati thing. I don't
Why
know.
would he do the box if he
Because
didn't
people do that,
I
like
know they
NFL
do,
defenders do all the time.
I know.
Maybe, probably.
It seemed like it was because it was on Tamani. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't, but
I don't remember Tamani doing it last game. If Tamani did it last game, then yeah, that was definitely
well,
because Tamani did it last game. But I don't remember Tamani
they
doing it
do it
last
on
game.
the like he would have seen him because they do it on the big screen on the whatever the score. What am I
Oh
trying to
yeah,
say? Like they played
is
in
he
Portland
watching
and
that? I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. But I'll say this. Like if the Blazers had a couple more worthwhile players off the bench, I feel like this is one of those games where we're talking about how they did step on the gas. I just feel like
Yeah,
it was the
maybe.
bench being so crap in this game. I love the way the starters played. The starters really, really played well, and the bench played really, really bad, even to their lowly standards.
Well, to that point, let me just bring up the box score on my phone so I don't mess it up on my computer. But I think Shaden Sharpe had the highest plus minus. You were asking about what the starters plus minus was. They were all pretty good in the starting lineup, I think. Let me get NBA scores on here. Sorry, bear with me for just a second. It's loading. I just don't want to slow up my computer by bringing it up on there. All right. So, plus minus for Sharpe 17, plus 16 for Denny, plus 13 for Clingan and Murray, plus 9 for Tamani. The bench, minus 6 for Robert Williams, minus 4 for Dwop in 4 minutes. 9 minutes for Love, minus 13. 24 minutes for City, minus 15, and 8 minutes for Repair, minus 5. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was basically Robert Williams and then guys that either didn't do anything or if they did stuff, it was bad stuff. And that's the pretty like simplistic way of breaking this down. Just not enough firepower off the bench. Like I feel like if you have Scoot and you have, if Grant was healthy and say coming off the bench in this game, we win this game by 20. So I just think it's hard to step on the gas when your bench, you can't really rely on them for anything. And that was basically this game. Every once in a while, those guys might get hot, but it's so rare. Like it's going to be hard for this team to actually have, double digit point victories. But as long as they win, right? That's what I said a few post game shows ago. They just got to figure out a way to win games during the CZ stretch, and they got a good win against Golden State, and then they took care of business against the Kings. I feel like that's huge, even though it wasn't pretty, almost choking last game and having to get a ticky-tack foul call to win that game, and then this game it looked like they were going to choke. We're going to talk about that, but this game they really had to dig deep to pull this one out. it's still a win in the win column. They're 12-16 now, and they're taking care of business uh, against a team that sucks. The Kings are 6-22 for a reason. They're missing Monk, they're missing Levine, they're missing Sabonis. So at this point, yeah, we can talk about there's a bunch of stuff that needs to maybe get better, and hopefully this team can get healthier. But at the end of the day, when you're chasing, I keep talking about it, an 8 seed. I want them in that 7 versus 8 playing game, and they're still right there. I think they're now a game and a half back of the 8th seed. They're in that conversation.
Yeah, Warriors won
So
tonight, so it's a game and a half. Yep.
yeah, so they're in that conversation for the 8th seed. Like they're right there, and they have a relatively easy schedule the rest of the year. So
And the
um,
tiebreaker with the Warriors.
exactly. So, more than ever, or more than the past few years, we kind of focused on the process, knowing that they were going to lose a bunch of games. So the conversation was mainly, what are they building? This year, going for that 8 seed, being in that conversation, just finding ways to win games matters, even if it's not pretty. So,
Hmm.
we'll always break down the process. We'll always dive deep into things, but um, it was really important for Portland to take care of business against the Kings in both of these games. They could have lost both these games, and these could have been 2 games where we're like, how did we lose that game? Instead, they found a way to win. They've won 3 in a row. They're now only 4 games below 500. You got Sharpe playing well. Denny continues to play well. Hopefully, you get some reinforcements sometime soon. I think things are looking better than they did a week ago, certainly, and things are looking a little up right now, which is nice. It's been a while since I've been able to say that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the first and third quarters. The Blazers get off to a great start in this game. Are up 15-2 at one point, I believe, um, and really had complete control of this game from the beginning. It kind of felt like the Blazers toyed with them last game a little bit, but now they're like, okay, we're gonna assert our dominance. And the Kings came right back, of course, and cut it to 2 by the end of the quarter. And then it was kind of back and forth for a while. Then third quarter, they come out, do the same thing, build a big lead, and then, like you mentioned, the bench kind of comes in and sucks it up and really hurts our momentum. But the Kings just one of the stories of this game was the Kings end up making a DeMar DeRozan three towards the very end, but at one point they were going to be the only starting unit this season, and I think Tom Haberstroh said it only happened once last season, where an entire starting lineup did not make a three in a game. The Kings end up with 1 3 out of their starters tonight,
Yeah.
and that was the story at the beginning of the game when they just started off ice cold shooting, got a couple of free throws, but other than that, could not put the ball in the hoop. And the Blazers, Tamani hit a three, Donovan hit a three, and they just came out firing. And I felt like they were playing really well. To your point, though, I mean, what are you supposed to do when that's your bench? Those are your options off the bench, and you can't play your starters 48 minutes. So I guess it is frustrating to think that they're losing momentum or losing leads in the same sort of fashion, especially which we'll talk about that inbounds passes and turning the ball or just struggling so bad to get the ball to the right people or even inbounds at all. Um, so that is an issue, but I don't know how much you can blame Splitter for some of the struggles in this game, just based on you even have to start Chris Murray, so you don't even have him off the bench. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there's just
Yeah.
not much to do. There's not many options. Caleb comes in. He wasn't very good tonight. DeWap hasn't been really providing very good minutes for a while, so you can't really turn to him. Repair, he plays a few minutes and doesn't really do much. So you're getting nothing out of him. And then if City doesn't do anything or has one of his worst games in a while, and I mean, really, Rob Will was the only one who had anything for us off the bench.
Yeah. So the Blazers had the best 2 offensive players and defensive players in this game, and those guys played like the best 2 offensive and defensive players in this game. Shaden Sharpe, Denny Avdija were great offensively. I know Denny was 6 for 18 from the field. We got to the line 10 times. but wasn't too inefficient. Also 11 assists. He threw some dimes in this game. And then Clingan had some really good moments defensively. And I thought this was one of Tamani's best defensive games of the season. He had multiple just sound, solid defensive possessions where he was just digging in and getting stops, making Kings players shoot tough shots. So it was guys that you expect to step up against a roster that, you had four guys that you expect to step up against a roster like this, and they did that, right? I think this game would be a little different if you barely won because City Sissoko made 4 threes and Caleb Love was 3 for 5 from 3, but you're looking at, Shane Sharpe and he had a rough game, or Tamati Camara and he had a rough defensive game. Like, I would feel worse about that type of win because that would be guys that you expect to come through that didn't come through and got saved by guys that don't normally perform well. But this was basically kind of what you would expect out of a game like this. The starting lineup played well. The starting lineup played better than theirs because it's simply better than theirs. But the Kings have pieces off the bench that are better than the pieces Portland has off the bench. And, I don't often boil games down to just, our roster versus theirs. There's a lot that goes into games that I love to break down on these post-game shows. But I think this game was pretty much simply that. The Kings starting lineup wasn't as good as the Blazers, but their bench, Nick Clifford is a guy that I liked in the draft, and he was solid. I talked about some of those names. Dennis Schroeder. This might have been his best game as a King. He's struggled, and the Blazers just had no firepower off the bench. So that's it. Post-game show over. Thank you guys for watching. No, just kidding. But yeah, I was really happy with the defense from Clingan and Tamani, and I was really happy with the offensive games from Denny and Sharpe.
Yeah, so DeMar scored a few times on Tamani, but he played perfect defense. That's all you can do. You stand tall. You don't over pressure to where you're fouling him in addition to him getting that shot off. And I felt like I said, DeMar made a couple, but he was like right there, hand up, straight up, in his face. And if he makes it, you just tip your cap and move on. And that's what we've been kind of asking for Tamani to do, not foul bait from like a defensive position, and don't overplay too much. I felt like today was one of his better games this year. I don't think he was in foul trouble, was he? How many fouls did he end up with?
I don't know. I gotta pull up the box score. The thing is with my internet being out is like I can still.
He only had 2 fouls today, so this is the first game in a while that I can remember that he wasn't kind of battling some cheap fouls or whatever, and then having to lay off being aggressive and stuff like that. But I felt like he did a really nice job at the beginning of the first and the third quarter, though, when the Blazers made their run. I really felt like Clingan was a big part of that. He was a monster protecting the rim. The Kings could get nothing going in the paint or inside, and I feel like Clingan had a really good game. Especially at those 2 moments, at least protecting the rim and making it tough for the Kings to score.
Yeah, I love the way Clingan's been playing. So I tweeted about this. He's starting to show just flashes of offensive stuff, and I've talked about this lately. But the flash he showed today that caught my eye, well, there's a couple. The behind-the-back pass was a nice pass from a big man, to be able to throw that on the money. I've been talking about how we need to tap into his passing a little bit more. And I thought we had opportunities to hit him in the short roll because the Kings were trapping screens in this game and we weren't getting it to him quick enough. But then the flash I really liked was DeMar DeRozan pressing up on him, and he's 18 feet away from the rim, and he spins baseline and just drives hard to the rim and dunks it. He's obviously not a creator or somebody that's going to handle the ball on the perimeter, but to have a smaller guy on you at the perimeter and to be able to turn and be able to get by him and just get to the rim and dunk, that's a basic play for some guys, I guess, but for a 7'2" rim protecting big, like somebody like Clingan who doesn't really show that a whole lot, it's nice to see that he has that. So I love that play from him. Also, you talked about it last stream, him getting putbacks and just going right back up with that. He had a clutch putback in this game, a clutch and one in this game. He didn't make the free throw, but clutch rebound and putback where he kept the ball high, finished quickly. So he's just starting to take steps and offensively, and it's not consistent yet. But he hit a three in this game. There's another one that was barely a two. So the jumper's been looking solid as of late. I just really love the stuff that he's flashing offensively in year two. One day hopefully all this stuff can be consistent, but it's nice that he's kind of starting to show some different stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about the Shea dunk later, but um, everyone's gonna say that was the play of the game, dunk of the year, whatever. Which yeah, it's hard to argue that, but I thought those two plays you mentioned by Clingan were much more important to winning this game. Just that it seemed like the Blazers were gonna get stuck in a possession where they had nothing going. Clingan's in the corner, getting harassed, and just all of a sudden spins out of it and goes and dunks the ball strong. That was great, both in terms of wow, Clingan just did that.
Yeah.
That wasn't a forward or Denny or Shea or someone. That was our 7-2 big man, and so that was sweet. And then yeah, just the offensive rebounds and the putbacks are so deflating to the other team because they get a stop they need, and then all of a sudden Clingan's wiping it and scoring, and then you're getting a foul on top of that. So obviously he needs to get do a better job. We talked about the free throw percentage being good going into the last game against the Kings, and now he struggled for two straight games shooting the free throw. So you can't have those games. I think at one point we are like 4 of 8 to start this game from the free throw line or something like that. Need to do a better job of hitting free throws. I think we probably did in the second half. I'm not sure what the final tally was, but just I thought Clingan was awesome for a good portion of this game and really provided a difference on both ends.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way he's been playing. The defense, he just gets called for ticky tack stuff, and I think it's because he's so big. But there's times where he gets called for stuff that I feel like isn't consistently called, but it is always called against him, where it's technically a foul. And we kind of talked about this with last game. The Blazers benefited off of one of these calls last game. Like we talked about how in the 2 minute report they probably still call it a foul. The one on Denny from Westbrook to end that game in overtime, and that's exactly what happened in the last 2 minute report. It
Yep.
was indeed called a foul. So like text when we talk about certain calls and plays getting called, there's a difference between like what is technically a foul by the textbook, by the letter of the law, and what is consistently called because it's not really the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that's just very inconsistently called, but it feels like for certain players it's called all the time, and for other players it's not. Right? Like if Klingon was on OKC, for example, he'd probably be getting away with a little bit more. So I do think he still has maybe not the friendliest whistle, but there's a couple times like he protected the rim well where there's a little bit of contact, but he jumped perfectly vertically and didn't get called for it. Where I was like expecting him to get called. And that's good defense. I feel like he's kind of learning how to, and this is going to have some growing pains. We've seen it this year, learning how to protect the rim for 30 minutes a game without getting in foul trouble, without, fouling out or getting his minutes limited because he's dealing with a high amount of fouls. So I thought there was really good moments in this game. I think he's doing a great job protecting the rim. There's a stretch. Maxime right now had two little floaters over him, but he's playing drop scheme. The drop scheme is designed to give up stuff in the mid range. You don't want a center shooting 5-6 foot floaters, but Reyno's played good against him 2 games in a row, but I don't really feel like it's Clingan necessarily just having Reyno go at him. Reyno's kind of just getting stuff in the flow, and the way the scheme works, you're going to give up some of these floaters and little short to mid range stuff at times.
Yeah, and you get stuck sometimes. This is what we've talked about with big men for years. Like if your perimeter defenders are constantly getting beat and you're stuck having to guard two guys or having to decide which of two guys to guard, it's always a tough position. And for the most part, he's making pretty good decisions, but there's always going to be times. I mean, you can be Hakeem Olajuwon or one of the best defenders of all time, and you're not going to be able to recover to your guy if you had to show on the penetrator from the perimeter. So I think he's doing about as good of a job as you can, considering our defense overall hasn't been great this year or hasn't been as good as we expected it to be. And so hopefully when we get some guys healthy and stuff, that gets a little bit more locked in so he's not put in those positions. But man, I saw some crazy posts talking about how Clingan sucks because he got outplayed by Renault last game, and it's just like, dude, you guys don't know what you're watching. Like, you're just box score watching, and you don't
Yeah.
understand like the flow and the nuance of the game, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same people that will blame Clingan for giving up threes because a guard's coming off a screen that Clingan's guarding and Clingan's in drop doing exactly as he's coached to do, and it gives up a jumper, right? He plays the scheme as it's designed really, really well. Drop scheme is not designed to not give up any shots. It's basically impossible to play a pick and roll scheme that's not going to give up shots. The point of drop scheme is hopefully you're not giving up open pull up threes against some guys. You can't really run drop scheme against them, but the Blazers will still try and do it. And the Blazers kind of can still do it because Donovan Clingan runs it so well and is able to, deter guys from driving to the rim and contest these mid range shots and eat up space defensively. So, it's he's been really, really good defensively this year. The Blazers have had a ton of issues defensively this year. The zone, I don't think works. I don't know what the stat is on it, but I don't like the zone. The defensive rebounding from other guys isn't the best. They kind of rely on him to grab a ton of defensive boards, so they struggle there. They foul a lot. And that's basically everybody on the team at times will get into foul trouble, it feels like. And then, the over aggressiveness doesn't put him in an easy spot. He has to try and clean up a lot from guys getting beat backdoor or guys getting driven past them because they're pressuring in the backcourt and guys coming downhill at him. So I think he's done a terrific job defensively. The defense has been a bit of a disappointment this year, but I don't think it's due to him. I think he's doing about as good of a job as you could expect a second-year big man to do. And then the flashes of the offensive stuff. I've been very pleased with him so far this season. I think we're starting to see growth that we need to see out of him in year two, and was really happy with his game today.
Yeah, and then you combine that with the offensive stuff we talked about. Like, if he can put together consistently, I don't think he doesn't need to be like a 20-point per game scorer. But tonight,
Yeah.
he gets 14 and 14, misses one shot from the field. Like, those kind of games, man, that just, if I mean, obviously he's not going to miss one shot very often, but if he can give you like 10 to 14 points and along with everything else he's doing, and they're almost all just like hustle plays or plays that aren't really where he's dominating the ball or anything like that. I mean, that's a huge bonus in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. Let's get the end of the way out of the game. The end of the game out of the way. Man,
Yeah,
I'm
the
mixing
end of
up
the
words.
way.
Oh my goodness. That's like painting the points last game.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here like testing my internet speed, seeing 0 upload speed, and it's just messing with my mind. Um, I hate my internet. Uh, Actually, my internet's been fine. I don't miss the days where I used to lag. Shout out to you if you watch the channels. If you watch the channel when we used to lag out all the time.
it got
Luckily, we're
horrific
past
for a
that.
while.
Today is yeah, yeah. We're better now. But the end of the game, man. I'm getting sick of the inbounds plays. How do you feel about the inbounds plays at the end of the game, and how many turnovers do we have in the final like minute or so, where it
Um,
felt like they were going to choke again? Wasn't it
yes,
3?
I don't understand. Like, it seems like they just, I don't really know how to explain it. It just seems like they get so nonchalant at times, and it's like they have no sense of like, oh, we need to make sure we make a strong. It's not just the inbounder. It's like no one's making like a crisp cut. No one's making a good move. No one's making a good screen. Like, everyone's just kind of like, oh, okay, they scored, and now we have to pass the ball. And it's just like, come on, guys, you need to like. This is where you need to be the most focused. This is where you need to have the most attention to detail. and all that kind of stuff. It feels like they're just kind of like, oh, we'll just kind of run some lazy route to the ball, and it's you're not going to get open when the other team's like over pressuring in those situations.
Yeah, this conversation is where I hate when people say they need a point guard for this because I just see a bunch of inbounds plays where you have one guy kind of lazily come to the ball,
Mm-hmm.
they're not available, and then there's like an outlet where you're throwing up the ball like to somebody mid court. We saw that with Clingan that got him sent to the line where he was kind of the outlet, and I think there's a couple different guys that cut there, but like everything is kind of feels like it's kind of towards the ball and then splitting off. Which is the easiest thing to defend because if you're down, you're going to put yourself between the inbound pass and the offensive player, if they're coming at you and then going out, like, all right, they come at you and then you run with them and deny them the ball. Like, you got to get more creative on some of these inbounds passes because they have not worked the past two games. It's been the inbounds passes have been a turnover machine. I cringe when they throw inbounds passes, and I wish I could pull up the play-by-play here. My
I
internet
got it.
issues are driving crazy. But
Where do you want to start? I have it up.
well, didn't they had two turnovers like back to back inbounds plays, correct?
So Clingan had that dunk with 54 seconds left. Blazers are up
Yeah.
7. Um, they miss a three. Keegan Murray misses a three, but they get the offensive rebound, and DeRozan hits the three to cut
Yeah.
it to 4. Then Shaden Sharpe turns the ball over. I don't
Okay, let's talk about that.
huh?
Let's talk about that. That's not an inbounds pass, but
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on that play?
I mean, this is where I'm when I mention attention to the detail, like if you catch the ball in that spot of the court, you're gonna get trapped in that situation. And I feel like that's just something you want to avoid, the corners of the court, right? If
Yeah.
you're that's like something you're taught. Like, you don't pick up your dribble right when you go over half court on the sides, because then you have like two defenders on the sides. And it's the same thing if you inbound it on your baseline to the corners. You're catching the ball in a situation where if you have two defenders come to trap you, and you have the two sidelines, both the baseline and the sideline, it's you're in a situation you have nowhere to go, and you have to like try to jump and throw a pass, and a lot of times you're not going to find someone in that amount of time you have to throw it. So I think I think it's just a situation where the Blazers, not only can they not get the ball in bounds sometimes, but then they finally get it in bounds, and it's like to the worst position on the court.
Yeah. Um, there's just nobody there to help him relieve pressure either. You have you have one guy like across the court, and you have a couple of players down court where they're not even options. And he tried to throw it down court because he didn't have any. He gets trapped, and he didn't have any options anywhere to throw the ball. So he tries to throw the ball down court, and he gets picked off. Like, you don't want a player trapped, fading away, trying to throw the ball down the court. That is the type of pass that gets picked off all the time. But I don't even blame Sharpe for throwing it. He didn't really have any options. He's not the strongest ball handler. People would say, oh, they need a point guard. That's why they're struggling with the pressure. And it's like, okay, but if you don't have a point guard and you have somebody like Sharpe bringing the ball up who's not necessarily the strongest ball handler and he's not a point guard, you need to make sure you have guys ready to help him relieve the pressure. You got to make sure he has passing options if he gets trapped, since he's not the type of guy that you expect to just beat two defenders with his dribble, like a point guard would, like Drew or Dame or Scoop might. So I think the lack of a point guard makes that even worse. Like, just the attention to detail that you talked about, you got to give them options to relieve pressure, to pass out of a trap. And the way they set up with just guys down the floor, they gave them no options. It was just really, really dumb, in my opinion, to just have guys completely down the court, not even options, when you don't have a point guard.
Yeah. So I don't know how technical we want to get, but so when you're being full court pressed, like when you're younger and stuff, you learn if you pass to the side like that, you have to get it back to the middle as quick as possible. But you don't want to just like throw a pass like where the defense could steal it, because that would be the worst possible pass to like throw it to the other team, is throwing it back across your own basket you're defending. But like, so you need to have a plan set up beforehand, like where you're going with the ball next, because you should know you're going to get trapped in that situation. So is the outlet to pass back to the inbounder who should quickly flash to the ball in the middle, or should it be that you have a guy coming up from half court to the middle to be the outlet? And really you should have two options, because one of the two is likely going to be someone's going to be running at from the other team to try and stop. But like, you have to have a plan. But it feels like the Blazers, and I guess this is where it goes back to coaching, it feels like they're just happy to get the ball inbounded at this point, that they don't really have that next step where, because really like the best teams, and this goes for like beating the zone, like I forget which game that was, but we had trouble in a recent game. Like, players seem to be like going to the right spots against the zone, but like Blazers having trouble like getting the ball or like passing it to that right spot. And to break a press, it really should be like bam, 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 like 3 passes, 2 passes, really quick, crisp, up the court, getting fast. You shouldn't ever have a situation where it's just like, okay, I got the ball now, where am I supposed to go? Like, you should always have like know where the other 4 guys are in relative to where you are on the court, and you should always have some sort of plan to attack that zone or how to bust it. And it should be pretty easy if it's something that you like practice and can execute properly.
Well, that specific play showed me that they don't really know how to set up the sideline against a press, because essentially there's 2 different things with, you inbound the ball kind of close to the sideline, and you have a player further down court also kind of close to the sideline. Okay, there's 2 different scenarios. Either the defensive player is playing behind that player, okay, and in that case, to be an option as a pass, that player has to run through the pass, right? The pass goes right to him, whether it's a bounce pass, wrapping it around the trap, or, throwing it over the trap, whatever it is, that player has to run through the pass, because you have the defender on your back. If you stop early or you don't run through the pass, that defender is going to keep running in front of you and pick that off, right? So either the defender's behind the guy and they run through the pass and catch the pass, or if the defender's playing in front, you walk that guy up into the front court so that Sharpe can just lead you over the top, like literally just throw it over the top where, it can bounce once or twice, but you throw it basically behind both the players, and the offensive player is able to get to it first. That's how you play that situation with the guy receiving the ball at the sideline. That guy was whoever he was trying to throw a ball to, I don't even know who it was. They weren't even ready to receive a pass. Like, they weren't set up to do anything. They were just kind of chilling down the court, like not even ready to do anything. And that's just a lack of urgency when you're getting pressed late in a close game. And that, I think, is a reflection on coaching. Like, you got to be ready to handle these situations. You just had a lot of time off to work on stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is something like, not to tie this back to high school, but our press break in high school was literally like bringing 2 guys into the front court, and then you had 2 guys near the sidelines, and they would try and run up and catch the pass and then kind of swing it back to the middle, and that's how you'd inbound. But the whole goal was to kind of try and bait the defender into overplaying that and then throwing a lead pass over the top. Yeah. And like leading the guy down the, basically a full court pass. We used to warm up practicing that, right? It's just very basic stuff is what I'm trying to say. This is not something that you need a point guard to run. This is stuff that you learn middle school, high school level basketball, okay?
Well, the Blazers finally did that at the last play when the game was over, but...
Yeah, but that's why it frustrates me to see an NBA team messing up this stuff, because it's just basic stuff. And that's why it frustrates me to hear people saying, that's why they need a point guard. No, you don't need a point guard to set that up. You don't. Right, and if you don't have the sideline, you want a guy in the backcourt with you, and then you want a guy kind of towards the middle of the floor. You want 3 options. You want sideline, you want middle of the floor, and then you want like kind of across the court. The inbounder normally is who that is, right? Where you have 3 options, and then if you're trapped and all 3 of those guys are guarded, that means you have 5 defenders in the front court, and then you have 1 guy back. Where all right, 5 defenders in the front court, you throw it long, and that's your 4th option. That's how you set things up to beat a trap or beat a press.
Yeah,
They
and
look like they weren't prepared for it, man, which is just kind of inexcusable to me. There's just been some late game stuff that's a bit inexcusable, and that was one of them. That turnover was one of them. This is stuff that plagued them 2 games in a row. So yeah, they won these games, but this is something they have to improve, and this is a pattern. Like it looked really, really bad 2 games in a row. So they have to be ready to beat a press, and then they have to design better inbounds passes. But that's why they turned it over that play. Sharpe had literally no options.
yeah, and if you send a guy deep or just have someone near your own basket, um, that a defender has to go with him. So then you basically playing, if they trap, you're playing 4-on-3, or 4-on-3. Um, so that should be part of the design is like getting a guy to go long, like you said. If they don't go with him, then you throw it over the top. If they do, it takes away one of the defenders, and there should be a spot open that just got
Yeah.
vacated for your offensive player to go into, and that should be all game planned and schemed out. Like this should all be something that's easily taught, and they should. I mean, it doesn't even take a lot of. It's something you can just do in like the walkthroughs before a game. It's not like it takes a ton of practice time to do this, especially for guys who are in the NBA and played their whole lives, like, or for decades basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, like, kind of last point on the press too. A lot of it's not even on who's throwing the pass. A lot of it's on who's catching the pass. Any pass that's not over the top, where you're basically sailing a defender and letting the ball get over the top past you and then chasing down. Any other pass when you're getting pressed and they're trying to get a steal, you have to meet the ball. You have to run through the pass. You can't just sit there and wait for the ball because somebody's going to run in front. You got to be the first one to the ball. So that's a basic thing, and it's not just the sideline like I was talking about. If the guy in the middle, if the ball is being thrown directly to him, you're probably having his defender behind him trying to pick that off, play that passing. You got to run through the ball because either you're going to get to the ball first, or by running to the ball, the defender trying to pick it off is going to run into you. It's going to be a foul. So a lot of it's on the player receiving the pass. And I don't know, like we haven't seen this team get trapped a whole lot, but I feel like that's something this team would struggle with, just with guys kind of not being aggressive, meeting the ball. On that pass that got picked off, the player that the ball was going to didn't seem to be competing for the pass, like seemed to kind of be waiting for it. And the defender just stepped in front and picked it off. So just nuances that they got to get better at. But what was the next turnover? Or sorry, if you want to touch upon that.
Well, I just want to say, like, and then last game, there was the inbound pass where Jeremy, it was designed to post up Jeremy or something,
Yeah.
and he doesn't get a good seal, and the defender gets around him. It's stuff like that you're mentioning. It's just like we're not we're not executing it right, and this goes back to the details. You seal your guy there, you easily get the inbound pass, and you win the game without having to get a foul called with 1.2 seconds left. And so it's stuff like that you're talking about. And Denny, you're throwing a pass to Denny going away from the ball, not towards the ball. It just seems like Portland is just trying to like randomly get inbounds passes and throw passes, and they're not even really prepared for what's happening, and that's kind of struggle. That's kind of frustrating for me, just watching it from kind of an analytical mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, very frustrating. I guess there was only 2 turnovers in the final minute. I thought there was a third, but the pass to Denny, where the first option coming to the ball wasn't there. So then the second option was like Denny in the middle of the floor on a sideline inbounds, where the ball has to be thrown above the guy defending the inbounder or thrown up in the air. Denny has to try and like seal off multiple guys to get that ball. That is the worst type of pass in that situation, because you're normally not going to be able to like zip that to him, right? He's being denied. You got somebody defending the inbound. You got multiple defenders to try and throw that to. Really, your only option is to throw it up and let Denny kind of hold his guy off the ball. The problem is, since it's in the middle of the floor, it's impossible to throw that up and not have other defenders starting other players come and try and pick off that pass. And that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is it impossible to, like Denny can seal off his guy, but he can't seal off another player as well that's coming from a different spot. It also, since it's in the backcourt, and if you're able to intercept that going the other way, you have a great opportunity to score very, very quickly. So that's like the worst type of pass to throw in that situation because it's almost impossible to execute properly. I don't blame Denny. I think it was Tamani that threw that pass. I don't blame Tamani. Like, that should not be option number 2 on a sideline inbounds plays to loft it up in the backcourt to somebody in the middle of a floor. That's just terrible. That's just terrible inbounds set. So we haven't seen them run a ton of offensive sets so far this year. They kind of have their random motion offense. The inbound sets are driving me crazy. Maybe it's good that we're not running much offensive sets because if the inbound stuff they're running is this freaking bad, then I couldn't imagine how bad of a half court, I'm kind of being sarcastic here and we do run some stuff. But you kind of get my point. Like, when it comes down to you need to draw something up X's and O's wise that executes, they have miserably failed the last 2 games against a really bad team. It almost lost them a 15-point lead in 2 minutes on Thursday, and then they have 2 turnovers in the final minutes a day. Like, I'm just tired of seeing this team completely crap the bed in crunch time.
And as Elizabeth Allen mentioned in chat earlier, you've got Denny out there. Like, what a luxury it is to have a 6'9" guy who can handle the ball like that. That should make it so much easier to break these presses and traps and stuff. Having a guy capable of bringing the ball up that you can also like throw it up to or things like that. Like, I don't know, like how having a point forward like that is like causing all these problems makes no sense to me. It should be the opposite. Having him out there should make it so much easier for this team to break the press, but instead it's like, I don't know what we're doing, man.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think my internet just came back, so we don't I'm gonna wait a little bit before trying to switch the stream over. But hopefully my internet is finally back, man. Any other place down the stretch you want to touch upon?
No, the Blazers only give up 93, so it's hard to really complain about like specific defense or whatever, but and I guess when you're turning the ball over, it doesn't help your defense either. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the defense overall was pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah, held them to 93 points. When was the last time we held a team below 100 points? Even the bad ones. We gave up 143 to a depleted Pelicans team.
Man, the Blazers led for 91% of this game. There's the new thing at the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that. I put that in the team stats graphic that I wanted to use until my internet died.
The Kings led for 1% of the game.
Yeah.
They took a 1-point lead at one point, yeah. But man, Portland 20 turnovers tonight. Gave up 24 points off turnovers. It's just they're now. I mean, they're last in the NBA in turnovers, which is not in the good way. So yeah, they are. It's weird to me, Tori, that a team that understands and has a defensive philosophy of forcing turnovers is so careless with the ball on the other end and then commit so many turnovers. It like doesn't make sense.
Well, you know what it is? It's the lack of the point guard does hurt in that area. But also, man, you see how many defenders are packing the paint every time Shaden or Denny drives?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got other guys that just aren't that skilled that are going to be turnover prone naturally, especially when they are tasked with doing more offensively than they normally would be if the team was healthy. Like that's going to contribute to a lot of it, especially when you're really reliant upon a motion offense that has some randomness ingrained in it. You know, it's easier to give like lesser offensive players like very strict instructions as part of a structured offense where you catch the pass, here's option one, here's option two, if not pass it along, where they can kind of think linear like that. They're going to be less turnover prone than in like a motion offense where they're catching the ball and they don't have necessarily clear instruction on what to do, but it's like catch and swing or catch and drive right away or read the defense and make the next play quickly. Certain players on this team are going to be more naturally turnover prone in an offense like that. That's the offense that they run. Um, so I think it's just a combination of different things where it's a big issue, and you have some sloppiness that needs to get cleaned up from guys that, um, that are good players. Shea and Denny have their sloppy moments, but I do think a big part of it is due to the injuries and due to the offense that they run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much just relying on those guys. I mean, Lamar even said it during the game. He's like, it seems like right now the offense is just Denny and Shea taking turns on who's going to try to attack.
Yeah.
And yeah, that they just have to find a way to not turn the ball over in those situations. And I don't know.
Well, they're driving into four defenders every time because there's not enough
Yeah,
spacing. It's crazy.
yeah.
Um, okay. I think my internet's back if you want to try to switch it over.
Yeah, it's up to you if you want to try it or not.
Yeah, yeah. Let me like set things up here before we switch it over. Um, cool. Finally, man. My goodness. That's terrible timing. Going live for a minute and then having the stream get shut down due to internet is awful. Um, but yeah, let me just make sure I have everything set up first.
The Blazers actually got up to 43% shooting in this game. They were in the 30s for most of the game, so I guess it was good that they got it up to 43, but still not the greatest shooting. But I guess it doesn't matter when you hold the other team to 38% shooting.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the team stats in a second. Hopefully, that's the goal. I'm gonna test it one more freaking time. Um, I blame Taylor Packer for Tori's internet issues. That sucks. That sucks. Shout out to Taylor. All right. Let me see here.
While you're doing that, let me read off a
Yeah,
donation and talk
Trevor.
about
Yeah, what's up, Trevor?
if it loads. Trevor Schindler had a super chat, $10. It says, Eric, you ever think about doing a side project podcast talking about the Blazer teams of the past? I'd love to hear you rant about the 2000 Western Conference Finals Game 7. Trevor, like, I'm pretty sure you know this because you used to watch those videos. But so Rich and I did have a channel called Rip City Retro in which we did talk about like older Blazer stuff and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Rich had to take down the channel because of some stuff that's going on with him. And hopefully someday we can go back to doing that and ranting about stuff like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen multiple videos of ours from that channel. But yeah, it is something that was fun to do. But unfortunately, right now we're not able to have those videos up due to some stuff that is happening in his life. But yeah, hopefully that changes in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, man. Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate you. All right. All right. Eric, do you want to try to switch this over?
Yeah, I don't think I have to do anything. I think you just start it, right?
No, literally just close your streaming software and let me know when you close it, and I'll hit go live on my end.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want a countdown?
Nah, just tell me when you close the stream.
All right. I'm closing it in 3, 2, 1. Are you sure you want to exit while live?
Yeah.
We're so back. So back. All right. I got to turn off the stream. Hold on. That was going to echo like crazy. Okay, let me get Eric in here. Let me get rolling here. Just need Eric to hop in this collab cam. Oh man, yeah, that sucked. That sucked. Let me just get my whereabouts. All right, I gotta regenerate this for Eric. 1 second. While he's waiting to join, let me just make sure. Let me make sure everything's connected. Let me just, since we're waiting anyway, let me just go through and literally connect everything on the fly. Team stats. All right, awesome. We are.
Your mic is really staticky.
Oh, is it?
Everyone in chat saying it. Yeah.
Weird. Oh, my phone's by it. Hold on.
Idiot.
Yeah, I'm trying to get. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. You're kind of quiet. Why are you quiet? Is Eric's volume okay? Chat.
Hello. Testing.
This is all the pre-stream stuff that you guys don't get to see, but you get to see since I have to set this up on the fly. All right. We'll do standings. We'll look at standings a little bit later. All right, let me.
Saying yours is much louder, but
Yeah, yours is just quiet. I have no idea why. Talk again?
hello. Blazers win.
Yeah, I think it's just quiet on your end. Don't know why.
Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, it's better. Awesome. Okay. If Eric's still a little bit quiet, let me know. Try and balance out the audio here. The thing is like my mic arm is literally connected to the chair that I was sitting in because it makes it easier for me to record the videos where I'm in front of the TV. I'll get back to recording some of those now I got some time off. But alrighty, so where were we, Eric? Also, just say something so I can test your audio level.
Say something.
You're still a little quiet. If you can turn yourself up a little bit more, it's fine.
I turned mine up all the way. I can't turn it up anymore.
That's so weird. Why don't you just be something with like your setup and then you go back to normal and you make us all deaf? Because I have you turned up really loud too, which is kind of scary. So I don't know why, but should be good. Alrighty, let me pull up the chat. Let me just get situated, man. It's more balanced. Okay, so team stats. Let's just jump into the team stats. Let's rifle through some stuff here. So the Blazers shoot 43% from the field. The Kings 38%. Look at those shooting numbers for the Kings. This is beautiful. 38% from the field, 19% from three. My goodness, that was a terrible 2 games of shooting from the Kings. Shout out to the Blazers defense, I guess. They do send them to the line 31 times, but they only make 21% of their 21 of their 31 free throws for 68%, so they don't even shoot well from there. They get 17 offensive rebounds, but they missed a ton of shots. Still, Blazers need to do a little bit better job on the boards. As you can see, Blazers led 91% of the time. I like that ESPN added that. Really cool. Fast break points, the Blazers actually won that today, 15-7. Points off turnovers, not pretty. 20 turnovers for the Blazers, not pretty. But also, you turn over the Kings 18 times, and you only score 9 points off their turnovers?
so bad.
That's so bad.
Half a point a turnover.
Yeah, that's dismal. That makes me wonder if I like miscopied this graphic, because that's the thing. This isn't coded. I put this in manually. But yeah,
You did not. I looked it up too.
there's some times when I see, because I literally just copy it into like a spreadsheet that formats it and then copy it onto the graphic. So I don't actually read the stats when I put it in. Sometimes I'll put the graphic up live and I'll look at a stat and be like, did I make a mistake? Because that doesn't seem right. And that was one of those.
Yeah. Nope, it was right. That's what it says.
Alrighty. Got to find a way to score off turnovers a little bit better than that. I mean, even if it's a dead ball turnover, it still counts as points off turnovers if you score the next possession, yeah?
If what?
If it's like a pass out of bounds. Yeah, so I mean, even normal offensive possessions, that's essentially 0.5 points per possession, which, if you pay attention to offensive rating, that's like a 50 offensive rating, essentially, is what that is. 50, an offensive rating of 50 after the Kings turn the ball over is really, really freaking bad. So, just a statistical abnormality there. But yeah, those are the team stats. Let's bring up the box score here. So we talked about Clingan, 14 and 14, very solid effort from him today. Plays 30 minutes once again.
He pretty much had to tonight.
Yeah, he played 35 minutes last game and played 30 minutes tonight. So love that he's showing the doubters that he actually can play 30 minutes in some games without dying on the floor. Since that's a whole narrative. And only 2 fouls, Eric. 2 fouls in 30 minutes in a good defensive night. So love that out of Clingan. Who do you want to talk about next? We got some starters and we got some bench no-shows that we can talk about.
Like you mentioned earlier, I don't think anyone on the bench deserves to be talked about more than we already did. So I think we should just skip all of them. But let's just get Rob out of the way since he's the only bench guy we had to. Almost has a double-double, 10 and 9. I thought he was really fantastic in a couple moments in this game, and really was our only capable player off the bench.
Yeah, he's looking good right now, man. He's looking healthy. Hopefully, he remains healthy. Plays 18 minutes tonight. He's giving him good minutes off the bench with his defense, and 10 points at 18 minutes is pretty good. 4 for 5 from the field.
Also, just a sign that he's relatively healthy, I think, is he's had some monster putback dunks off missed shots, and it doesn't feel like he's
collab cammed.
These injuries. Oh man.
Whoa! Now you're loud. Whoa! It fixed the audio.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, it seems like he's a little bulkier than he used to be. It seems like with all the injuries, it's deteriorated his athletic ability. But then he has like these crazy putback dunks that are really athletic, and some alley-oops that are really athletic, and it's like I want to believe in him being healthy when he does that kind of stuff, and he's been doing it a lot lately. So, but man, it's good to see him out there. It's really hard to like think about how to use him or how many minutes to play or how much we should rely on him, or do you still trade him at the deadline because there's some interest in him, according to reports. Like, I think these are all going to be fascinating questions to see play out over the next month and a half until the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree. Got Tamani Camara, who was great from 3 today. Started off 4 for 5 from 3. He ends up finishing, let's see here, 4 for 10. So he still shot 40%, but he missed his last 5 threes. So that's not pretty, missing his last 5, but He started off hot at least, which was cool to see. 4 steals, so just really good defensive game from him. Only 2 fouls in 37 minutes. That's been an issue with him. That's been a problem. So this was maybe his best defensive game, in my opinion, and a big reason why they only scored 93 points. He had really good, solid fundamental defensive possessions, got some steals. Was just really, really solid on that end of the floor. 5 for 14. Some of the drafts were really ugly in this game. He doesn't have the feel of a slasher, of somebody that's drives well. So that's an issue. He did have a really tough finish, but go on.
Yeah. I would say anytime he catches the ball and doesn't immediately shoot and then starts jab stepping or hesitating for a second, it's about to be an adventure. Mostly in a bad way, but I guess sometimes he can surprise you and do something good. But it feels like anytime he doesn't just catch and shoot it or have an open shot, it's like, okay, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
You're not gonna make that shot, or you got bailed out with a foul called on one of them and got to the line, but I think that was this game, right? Did he go to the line this game?
He was 1 for 2 from the line.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of his drives he actually got to the line, but yeah, it's not great when he puts the ball on the floor.
Do you So he's 4 for 5 from 3. He gets a steal in the backcourt and walks into an open 3 with 22 on the shot clock. Do you have an issue with that shot? Because our group chat, there's multiple people with an issue with that shot, and I did not have an issue with that shot. A guy that's 4 for 5 from 3, stepping into a wide open 3 with 22 on the shot clock. If a dude's 4 for 5 from 3 and he shoots an open 3, you would say that's a good shot to get that possession. I'm completely fine with the possession if that's the shot it generates at any point in the clock. So I had no issue with that 3, but some people did. So I was wondering if you had an issue with that 3.
I'm gonna kind of play the fence here. I didn't really have an issue with it at the time. I do understand the people who did have an issue with it, simply because he's not if you have a Trae Young or a Damian Lillard or a Steph Curry or something who's used to dribbling up and pulling up and shooting those threes, regardless if it's a fast break or not, that's one thing. But most of his threes are catch and shoot or standstill ones. The only difference I think for me is, do you trust him to shoot running up off the dribble stuff?
He wasn't running into it though. He kind of walked into it, which I trust.
Yeah.
I trust. We've seen him hit some threes in transition, filling the lane, filling the wing this year.
And also, it kind of plays into account how many, we had debatable 5, maybe 6 rotation players playing in this game, depending on if you count Chris Murray in that group or not. But someone's got to make shots and make plays and stuff like that. So, and you got the steal. So I don't really have a problem with him shooting it. I also see just because he's 4 for 5 doesn't mean he's used to shooting threes in that fashion though too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it though. A guy walking into a wide open 3 when he's 4 for 5 from 3. If he's 0 for 5 from 3, sure. But especially after he gets the steal too, completely fine with that shot.
So the way what is it? 5 games now that were Sharpe shot over 50%. 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
If he shoots that same exact shot instead of driving in, do you say the same thing?
I might have more of an issue with it. You want to know why? Because he's much, much better at driving than Damani Camara.
That's true.
If he shoots a pull-up 3 and there's a lane in front of him, my only annoyance would be dude, just go dunk on them. Just like he did to Russ at the end of this game. With Tamani, it's okay, he's 4 for 5 from 3, but he was 0 for 5 from 2 at the time, and every time he drove, it was a travesty. So it's okay, yeah, you shoot that 3 because you literally can't drive. So I mean, if Sharpe's 4 for 5, I don't really have an issue with that 3. But like, if Sharpe has a lane in a transition opportunity, I want him to attack that because of how athletic he is and how good he is when he's able to get downhill in transition. So it's it wouldn't even necessarily be like a shot at Sharpe. It'd be like, dude, you're so good at attacking. Like, don't settle. Or Tamati, it's almost settling when he drives instead of shoots threes. You know?
Yeah. True.
So let's talk about Shea and Denny last. Let's get through everybody else, and then I want your player of the game because this poll has been very, very close. We actually got a competitive poll for once. So, Sissoko, we didn't talk about him yet. 24 minutes. He was 0 for 5 off the bench, 0 for 3 from 3. He had 1 assist, 3 boards, 2 turnovers. Just a complete no-show from him tonight. He was brutal. And he's been playing good basketball. I started to give him some praise, and it feels like since I gave him some praise, now he's like, okay, you shouldn't have given me praise. I'm going to go have feels like a couple bad games in a row now. I forget what he did last game. But could this just be like, okay, he's going to be a little bit inconsistent, of course. He's a two-way guy, or is this like, oh, he had a stretch where he played well, but this is more so who he is? I don't know. But he didn't help them at all off the bench today, and that was very frustrating.
Yeah, they needed someone. The broadcast kept mentioning this too. They needed one of those guys who you don't normally get contributions from. We needed someone to step up in this game. Would have made a huge difference, but unfortunately tonight they didn't get it. Just yeah, City is one of those guys that, like, he's solid when he's playing with the starting lineup and playing in a situation where he doesn't have to do a lot. But I felt like there were some times in this game where he acted like he was more than that, and he's been hitting 3-pointers. Maybe not the last 2 games, but like, you know, his percentage is in the mid-30s recently, and he's shown he can knock him down. But I do feel like it's still a situation where I don't fully trust it, and I still kind of like, oh man, you're shooting too much. Yeah. But at times it's like, maybe he has to, like, because no one else is doing anything either. Some of those lineups where it's like him and Ryan Repair and stuff like that, it's tough.
Yeah, well, he was 34% from 3 before this game. That is a higher percentage than Caleb Love's field goal percentage. So, you know, if he's taking shots away from Caleb Love, that's fine. I have a question regarding Caleb Love. Chat, please answer this with a yes or a no. Does it feel like Caleb, dude, why I'm messing up so many words lately, man. Weird. Don't know why. Hopefully I'm all right. Does it feel like Caleb Love shot a high rate of shot attempts in this game? Like, don't even contextualize it any more than that. Just yes or no question.
In this game, in my opinion, or do you want me to wait to answer it?
Yes or no? I know you don't like yes or no questions, but yes or no?
I was to say, in this particular game, if we're just talking about this game.
In this game.
It did not feel like he shot a ton, even though he did. But I would say no, just thinking about it, like, it didn't feel like he shot.
Yeah, so
but he did.
He played 9 minutes, okay? If he played 36 minutes, right, that's 9 times 4. He would have been 4 for 20 in this game from the field.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing. We're sitting here like, it doesn't feel like he took a ton of shots. But if he played starting level minutes, he would have taken 20 shots still and been 4 for 20. He was 1 for 5 in 9 minutes. And it's like, oh, at least he didn't take 7 of them. It's insane.
I mean, his 3 was wide open. Did he shoot more than 1 3?
He was over.
I remember one kick out. I think Denny kicked it out to him wide open, missed it, and then he had some bad drives. Yeah. One good drive, but yeah.
Oh, he's not. He shoots per 36. He shoots 18 field goal attempts a game and 11 threes, Eric. 11 threes per 36 minutes. We talked about Sharpe shooting a lot when it was like 9 or 10. This dude freaking shoots 11 threes per 36 minutes at 26%. And that was before this game, so now it's down to 25%. That's awful. That's horrible. Like, he's just a detriment. He's just flat out detrimental to the offense with how much he shoots and how much he misses.
He's like if Dame sucks.
Like if Dame didn't know how to shoot, never figured out how to shoot, but still had his confidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he has the inside hand finish and all that stuff. Like Brandon Williams. Dude, I don't even think Brandon Williams shot this much. And I don't even think he was this inefficient. Let's go to Brandon Williams' time in Portland, okay? Which was...
Yeah, let's do a comparison.
All right, per 36, Brandon Williams shot 16 field goal attempts per 36 and 6 three-point attempts. Caleb Love's shooting almost double the three-point attempts. And Brandon Williams was 37% from the field, 29% from three. Caleb Love's 33% from the field and like 25, 26% from three. True shooting percentage for Brandon Williams that season was 47.6%. Right now for Caleb Love, it is 43.5%. Eric, that is horribly inefficient. 43.5 true shooting percentage is going to get worse after today. That's disgusting. Even if he bumped that by 10 points, he'd still be like too inefficient to call his scoring productive. If he bumped his true shooting percentage by 10 whole points, he'd still be inefficient. Like, he is one of the most inefficient volume shooters in the league. He might be the most inefficient volume shooter in the league.
Trevin did the math. It's down to 42.8% now after this game.
Shout out to Trevin. Always has his true shooting percentage calculator ready. That's disgusting. I'm sorry, man. Every now and then he'll have a great game where he provides a spark off the bench. But, dude, you can go find guys that can score and shoot some threes that are inefficient, but are more efficient than that. Shoot, I feel like you could go get Alonzo Trier and he would be more efficient right now as a bucket getter. You know, like
that was the most random name you could have come up.
But I feel like that's the perfect name to come up with because that dude was a bit of a bucket. He was just horribly inefficient, right? But like, he's not an NBA player. He's not even close to being an NBA player, man. I mean, Alonzo Trier. The reason why I brought him up was he averaged 11 points per game as a rookie. If you remember that rookie year, in 23 minutes per game. Per 36, that was 17 points per game. And that was on a true shooting percentage of 56%. And then the following year, he played in 24 games at 12 minutes a game and averaged 6 points and had a true shooting percentage of 62%. So for his career, Alonzo Trier, 57%. Per 36, this dude shot like 13 shots per 36 minutes. And that wasn't good enough for him to stick, right? Like, he didn't really do anything else, just like Caleb Love doesn't really do anything else. And that wasn't good enough for Alonzo Trier to stick. I feel like you could go get Alonzo Trier and he could shoot the amount of shots that Caleb Love's shooting at a little better efficiency. Not good efficiency, but you know what I mean? Like, hopefully I'm illustrating my point well. It's so bad that it's like almost disqualifying for scoring to be your thing and to be that horribly inefficient. It's brutal.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up someone.
Dylan Jones should be playing those minutes, man. Dylan Jones should be playing these minutes. I warned people about Caleb Love, man. I'm dropping my vlog. The plan is before Christmas of when I went to the Warriors game and Caleb Love had 26 points. So that's going to be funny on the back of this because you're going to hear me getting hyped about Caleb Love making shots. But that was like the one time he made shots this season. You know, he's had a couple other games, but
I was just looking. Obviously, he doesn't qualify for a two-way, so that wouldn't work. But I just looked up Corey Joseph's true shooting percentage from last year. It was 54.7 in 50 games. Yeah.
There's no way you can't find a more efficient scorer that doesn't shoot as many bad shots as Caleb Love. Like, what are we doing? He's not even like a future. He's not even like somebody that's, 19 in a project, so it's okay. How old is he? 23?
Something like that. 22, 23.
He's 24. He's 24 years old. Like, what are we doing, man? I'm sorry, but I don't really understand. I don't really understand what we're doing there. And people say, why do you care about two-ways? Well, we've had to play the guy all freaking season. So I would like to play a guy that doesn't have a true shooting percentage of 42.8. Not to just boil everything down to just one efficiency stat, but when it's that bad, you kind of can. Like, he shoots way too freaking much. There's no way a guy shooting 25% from three should be shooting 11 threes per 36 minutes. That's insane. And it's insane that the coaching staff allows it to happen. It's insane. It's terrible math. It's terrible math. Like, you're God.
I just looked up someone we drafted recently and then traded with one of our second round picks.
Who's that?
Can you guess who I looked up?
Tyler Kolek?
Yep. His true shooting percentage this year is 56.3%, despite shooting 29.7% from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and he actually passes a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what we're doing, man.
Yeah, Colt's had a couple of good games lately.
I get sick of I just get sick of the people. We pick up a guy on a two-way and they just watch his highlights and his highlights look good, and then they come into my chat, will hear me criticize them because they're super inefficient and have major flaws to their game. Because I've watched this dude. I watched him play like 30 games, 35 games of college basketball. I watched him a ton in college. And then I had an opinion like, okay, this dude's too inefficient and doesn't do enough well outside of that to make up for it. And then I have people who just off a highlight tape are coming into the chat trying to tell me how I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm just negative all the time and just Caleb Love hater and blah, 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 blah. Now we got this dude shooting 42.8% true shooting percentage.
College Gillespie's at 58.9.
Like, if you're going to get a scoring guard on a two-way, they have to be able to make a three. Like, they just have to be able to make a three. Start there. Somebody that's capable of making threes. All right, then if they could do something off the dribble, that's cool.
Especially on this roster.
Yeah, like, it's just so ridiculous. And I talked about how I don't like Cronin building around the edges of the roster. That goes all the way down to the two-ways. Like, why the hell is he on a two-way? Why do we have him and Javonte Cook on two-ways? It's just ridiculous. There's multiple two-way players across the league who are having a positive impact. We just saw one of them the last couple of days with Dylan Cardwell, who's better right now than Young Hansen, by the way, but Young Hansen's a project, so whatever. Shout out to the box, man. Yeah, like, you have Dominic Barlow in Philadelphia who had a good game today. You had Jabari Walker's on a two-way over there. I wish we had Jabari Walker on a two-way over Javonte Cook and Caleb Love. It just baffles me. It's just, when something doesn't make sense to me like that, it drives me crazy. Because there's some things I disagree with, but I can at least explain the other side of it. I just don't. There's no explanation for Caleb Love playing minutes, like, even with the injuries. Like, I don't think he should be particularly playing right now. He's so inefficient and shoots way too much.
Well, if he wasn't a point guard, I don't think he'd be playing at all.
They don't even use him as a point guard. They don't even use him as a point guard, so that's what drives me crazy. Like, is there a Caleb Love fan in chat that can give me an explanation, please, as to why he's on a two-way, what Cronin sees in him? Like, The thing is, if you ask Cronin, I bet you'd say, yeah, we've been pleased with Caleb Love so far this year.
He's even our worst two-way player.
The thing that drove me crazy is you remember his draft interview, like workout interview, and he talked about like needing to become like more of a role player and doing different things. Oh, now he's in the NBA getting minutes and he's shooting 11 threes per 36 at 25%. Dude didn't change. Dude didn't change at all. He has some good defensive moments actually, where he moves his feet well, which is kind of more than I expected. And there's been some flashes of passing where it's like, all right, if he could just like dial it down and be a little bit more efficient and shoot a lot less with those flashes, like fine. But he's way too aggressive. They got him because he's Dame's guy. How's he How's he Dave's guy? I assume that's a joke. Because he go to Formula Zero camp. I mean, a bunch of guys go to that camp. I don't know. Who's his agent? That's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know. Like, am I being too hard on him? Maybe. But it's the NBA, man. You can't be shooting this much and shooting this poorly. Like, you got to dial it back. Have a little bit of self-awareness. But the coaching staff, too. I don't know how you just let this dude jack as many shots as he does. Anyway, rant over. Any other bench player you want to speak upon?
No, I already said we didn't deserve. None of them deserve to be talked about. We just talked about Caleb Love for like 20 minutes.
None of them deserve positive things being said about them except for Rob Will. How is Uprise so bad that he's playing less than Caleb Love? I don't know. Okay. Chris Murray, 9 points. 3 for 7 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. 2 for 4 from the free throw line. He gets sent to the free throw line in crunch time, and I knew he was at least going to miss one. Which kind of is the feeling with this whole team, but Chris Murray is not a good free throw shooter. Was I surprised that he missed both? Not at all. He's a 69% free throw shooter coming into this game. For his career, he's a 58% free throw shooter. So, really bad free throw shooter. Worse than Clingan. He made a 3 today. Yeah, I'm happy he made a 3 today. The thing is like when he misses threes, they're not close, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing. Like, it's all over the place. A lot of them.
It's him making a 3.
Yeah, a lot of them are short. Like, it just doesn't feel like his shot is the same each time. Like, when he has to speed it up, it looks different to me. I don't even know what exactly it is. He, had a nice start to this game, at least. It was a part of them getting off to a 15-2 run. So, at least he provided a spark at the start. He had 5 of those points. He had a 3. He had a layup on his brother. He had a nice reverse in this game. He actually showed off some sauce, so yeah, that was cool. It wasn't a bad game from Chris Murray.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Your son was excited about Chris Murray as well, I hear.
It's my daughter, yeah.
Oh, your daughter. I couldn't tell. Your daughter excited about Chris Murray as well. Shout out to Chris Murray. Played 36 minutes today. He was a plus 13. All right. We talked about Tamani. We talked about Clingan. We talked about Murray. All right. Who's your player of the game between Avdija and Sharpe?
Very, very close tonight. Man, I there's not a wrong answer, but I think in that third quarter, Sharpe really took over the game, and so just from that stretch, I think I want to give him his props by giving him the player of the game poll for tonight.
I feel like audience or voting fatigue makes me want to vote for Sharpe. Mm-hmm. If I'm voting for who I think had the best game today, it is very, very close. Sharpe was a little bit more efficient from the field, but then he got to the line more. I think as a whole, Sharpe was a little bit more efficient this game, but then he finishes with 11 assists, 5 turnovers. Sharpe has 3 assists, 5 turnovers. They updated some stats here after the game was final, because I literally copied these stats off of ESPN. So Sharpe, 5 turnovers and 3 assists. I think I think Denny had a slightly better game, so I would have to vote for him for player of the game poll. Just with the 11 assists and 5 turnovers, he did a better job setting up his teammates in this game. That's kind of like the deciding factor for me, but very close, and the poll reflects that. So if you haven't voted for player of the game, we'll keep the poll rolling, but Denny started to pull away there. But I mean, good game from both of them. Outside of the turnovers, both had 5, but like
10 turnovers.
Yeah, both had 5, but at least Denny 11 assists, Sharpe only 3. Sharpe did a good job like collapsing the defense. He made some nice kick out passes that weren't necessarily paid off. So I just I really like some of the drives where he's putting his shoulder down, creating contact, and the one where he had late where he just drove straight into Dylan Cardwell, who's a big dude. That's a strong dude, and moved him and like rose into that floater was really impressive. Really, really impressive. He had a couple really nice steals in this game, where he's just keeping his hands active. 2 for 4 from 3, so continues to shoot a good 3 ball, which is a really, really good sign. Mid-range jumpers are falling right now. Had that nice little spin back move against DeRozan where, man, he covered so much ground, and the ability to be on balance rising up into that turnaround shot the way he did was really impressive. So I like the way he's playing lately. I like that he has been scoring the ball efficiently. He has 4 games in a row. He's shot at or above 50% from the field. He has 5 games in a row. He's shot at or above 50% from 3. I would like to see him find a way to get to the free throw line a little bit more the last couple of games. He only has 2 free throw attempts each game, and he's 1 for 4 in the games against the Kings. That was something that he was doing better to start the month. So the thing is, though, it's not even really like on him, I guess, because he is driving hard and creating some contact. Just it's always nice to see somebody that can get to the free throw line, because it just gives you a higher like floor as a scorer when you can get to the free throw line and get easy points that way. But yeah, been very happy with his play as of late, and the more this continues, the better I feel about, okay, maybe he's finally finding some consistency playing at a high level.
Yeah, and as we've been saying all year, it doesn't need to be a case where we're pitting Denny and Shea against each other. They can both have good games and succeed playing off of one another and playing with each other. And I think the last 2 games they're starting to show that.
Yeah, it's funny because like the scoring is like points per game is similar to November. He was 23 points per game in November, 24 points per game in December. But you look at the percentages in November, he was 49% from the field, but he was 24% from 3. It was just pretty brutal. This month he's 51% from 3. So.
Shout out to Sharpe for like not shooting more than 4. Like, it's almost getting to the point where maybe he should have shot more, but like I do like that he had that in the first half. He had a terrible shot. It was like a spin around from like 18 feet.
Yeah.
And the guy was in his face. He had no lift on his shot. It came up short predictably before it even left his hands. That's just a terrible, terrible decision to shoot that shot. And then, but I feel like other than him still doing that like once or twice a game, he's really doing a good job of not forcing too many. And if anything, if the way he's been shooting lately, you would think he'd be starting to force more shots, but the fact that he only shot 4 threes tonight proves, I think, that he's not really doing that right now, and it's good to see him attack the rim, like you mentioned, using his body well, better than he has lately, and yeah, I was impressed with just his overall. Just I felt like he kind of let the game come to him at times and didn't really try to do too much. And I thought for the most part, outside of that shot I mentioned, his shot selection was pretty good.
Yeah, he does have to do a better job of taking care of the ball, especially if he's not really like creating for others at a super high level. Like, if you're throwing passes all game and try to thread the needle to cutters all game and set up your teammates, kind of the way that Denny did in a game like this, you're gonna have some turnovers. With Sharpe, this is why we looked at assist to turnover ratio. Like, I could live with some turnovers if you're generating offense for others at a high rate, because that's just kind of a byproduct of it, to a certain extent. So, you look at Sharpe the last couple of games, he had 7 assists, 9 turnovers in these games against the Kings. Like, that's just kind of the one area where, finding a way to either take better care of the ball if he's just going to be a scorer, or, doing a better job setting up teammates without turning over the ball at a higher clip is kind of important. Like, that's one of the facets, I feel like there's multiple facets we talk about. Sharpe need to find more consistency, and the 3-point shooting is one of them. He's been finding that. I think the shot selection, decision making has been better outside of the mid-range he took last game against the Kings, which was maybe the worst shot of the season. So there's aspects of the game that are better right now, and he's been very efficient this month, which is really good. Just the playmaking for others, like taking care of the ball stuff, is still one area that still needs to see some improvement. He's averaging 3.4 assists per game this month, 3 turnovers. I don't believe that counts this game. So, at least he's averaging more assists and turnovers, but that's still not particularly good. And on the season, I still think has more turnovers than assists. So that's the area to hopefully see some improvement in next.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, and then Denny had an interesting game, so I want your thoughts, because he's 6 for 18 from the field. From 3, he was, let's see here. He was 3 for 9 from 3, 9 for 10 from the free throw line, though. Almost had a triple-double, just fell 3 rebounds short. 11 assists, 5 turnovers. What were your thoughts?
I mean, once again, if this is the baseline for being whether he had a good or bad game, I think that's pretty good. There was a moment in this game where Splitter started yelling at him for not getting back on defense. So that definitely has become an issue, especially lately. The amount of times he spends arguing calls and complaining, it's starting to affect their defense. So he does need to get back on that. But I mean, he's just once again really solid, and without a doubt has been our best player all season.
He did have the play where he sprinted back and fouled Reno, where he sprinted back to send him to the free throw line. I think Reno missed a free throw too, if I recall correctly. So it was a good hustle play. I think when he doesn't run back, it's almost always because he's complaining with the ref, which, you got to get back on defense, man. Got to get back on defense. It's never really from a pouting, he didn't get the ball type thing, or, oh, they're down, so he's just going to give up type thing. It's a lot of complaining, which still doesn't necessarily excuse it, but it's a little different, I guess. But yeah, he has to do a better job with that, and I like that Tiago's getting on him for that. And if that's why he ran back and made that play, got that foul, and I already know, then shout out to Tiago for getting through to him, and shout out to him for picking it up, because that is a bit of an issue where he needs to do a better job getting back on defense, because you're not going to change a call. I will say, if him complaining is part of the reason why he's getting so many freaking free throws, then I don't know. Do you want him to complain? Because he's getting a lot of calls, I don't know. It felt like this game there was some stuff that he could have gotten called for him on top of the 10 free throws he shot, but he's obviously getting I don't even want to say he's getting a kind whistle. He got a kind whistle last game at the end of overtime, but it feels like a lot of plays that he does get to the line on, he is truly getting fouled on. So I don't know. Do you think complaining has any effect on getting calls in your benefit at all?
I think talking or complaining to the refs does sometimes help. I don't think it helps in what Denny's doing though. And it's like every time he drives, it's basically like, like I don't think that is beneficial. I think it's a case where it's almost like he's whining too much, and I almost think it's more detrimental to him getting calls than good at times.
Well, if it's been detrimental, then
if
he
you
can
go
get
too
15.
much, right?
Yeah,
right.
He can get 15 free throws a game. Because I don't know what he's getting lately, but it's a ton. I think complain of the dead ball is what I'd say. Like, you feel like you got fouled on a play. If you're getting back and you're easily getting back or ball goes out of bounds, you complain a little bit. Just don't let it affect your ability to play defense and that sort of thing. I don't have an issue with like complaining to a certain extent. Don't be Draymond Green with it. That's just obnoxious. But I do feel like it has a little bit of an effect because it does feel like some guys that complain a lot get a ton of calls.
Yeah, I agree with chat. Eris is less complaining than the fact that he's driving all the time, and I just think that forces the refs to have to call a lot, and he is drawing a lot of contact on those drives. So, and then I also agree with Ofer that if you're complaining on specific calls that are egregious instead of every single one, I also think it could be better for you if the refs are going back and seeing, oh, he complained about these 3 plays and they were all fouls when I go back and look at him, so he's got a point, instead of every time he drives like throwing his hands up pretty much.
Yeah. Understandable. Any other thoughts on him today? I do like that he was aggressive from 3, even though 33% is kind of whatever. Like, I feel like some games he gets a little passive from there, and he's shot a decent 3-ball, a better 3-ball than pretty much anybody else on the roster this season. So
yeah,
I do. Where I don't like Caleb Love taking 11 threes per 36 minutes, I do like Denny taking like a good balance of them because he doesn't really take bad threes. So. When he gets 9 up, like generally it's going to be like 9 good looks. So
yep.
I do like him being aggressive, especially on a night like tonight. Anything else you want to talk about with this particular game?
No, not really. I think we covered most of it.
Because I'm going to make a standings graphic and pop it up.
Yeah.
So just give me a second to do that. Chat, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Eric will be happy to answer them. And then we'll take a look at the standings.
Yeah.
I like that I can put up standings and we can standings watch, That's cool.
But not in the tankathon way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to hopefully get these standings and stuff coded the next couple of weeks with the time that I have. That's the goal. That is the goal. Because I'm tired of having to make every single graphic like manually by hand while I stream. Would be nice to just be able to look at it live. No issues. Shout out to the Clippers for winning a game today. I am hardcore rooting for the Clippers so that we don't have to worry about OKC. Or at least, OKC has bad odds. This loss for the Kings puts them in last in the West. You remember how I said, like, oh, did we get the Pelicans right? When Desmond Bain hit that buzzer beater against us, it got the Magic right. They went on a run. Well, the Pelicans have won 4 in a row, starting with their game against us, so I guess we did get them right. So their pick that they traded away is getting worse while Queen keeps killing it. It's funny that there is a chance that trade in hindsight looks completely fine, even though it's like
still the
should have
value
protected the
of
pick.
things.
Yeah, should have protected the pick, and you could have had the best of both worlds, and looked like a genius.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the process is bad, you know. Just at the end, like maybe they net out all right because Queen's so good.
Michael Dino asked in the last 2 weeks, Monsa has been incredible. Are either be putting him over Peterson yet? What are your issues with Monsa's game, if any? I've had, I mean, I don't know. The top 3 are all interchangeable in my mind. I've been an AJ Bonsa guy since the Hoop Summit, like almost 2 years ago. Just really liked his game, and his weaknesses obviously would be 3-point shooting and defense. For his size and athletic ability, isn't the greatest defender. I think those are his 2 major weaknesses, but man, he's had some incredible stretches. Forget, were they playing Clemson like a week or 2 ago, and BYU was down like 20 something in the first half, and they came back and won, and he was making a play on, like, it was like watching Denny tonight or any night, just making play after play, both passing and driving, and it was pretty crazy. But it's kind of hard too with Peterson because he's been injured this year, so hasn't really had a consistent shot at playing. So it's tough to compare someone who you haven't really seen play too many college minutes to someone who's out there every game.
I will say, Peterson feels more likely to be like offensive engine, like being able to just run your entire offense and be like potentially a 25 to 30 point per game scorer, but then like set up teammates and just be like, you know, your SGA or Luka type of guard, like that sort of upside. Where Bonsa, I think, you know, like he of course has potential in pretty much any area. We're splitting hairs here, but you know, I think he has a little bit more ways to go as like a playmaker passer, or maybe it's a little bit more speculative is how I'll kind of word that. I think that is the difference with this, like with Boozer, with Bonsa, with Peterson. Comparing these guys, you're going to be splitting hairs on things where, you know, it's going to sound like putting one guy down while lifting another up, where at the end of the day, they're all terrific prospects, really good prospects, and you're basically going to have to nitpick differences to put one over the other.
Yep.
I will say if Peterson can't stay healthy, then that's an issue, of course. So I need to see more of him. That's kind of where I'm at. What do you think of Nate Ament so far?
I mean, he's been disappointing for sure.
I saw him play at Hoop Summit, and I like immediately was like, okay, I understand the idea with him, but like not being the most bursty guy, and there's just these guys that feel like, okay, they're able to play really well at the high school level because of their size, because they have some skills and then they have size on their side. But when they go up against stronger, quicker players where they can't turn the corner as easily, their size isn't as much of an advantage. They really struggle to translate. And sometimes that's like high school to college level. Sometimes that's college to NBA level. Like that's why Kevin Knox was drafted 9th, but then ended up a bust, right? Like his skills weren't good enough and his size wasn't good enough to like make it work at the NBA level. And that's kind of the feeling I get from Nate Ament, where I just feel like his game doesn't really translate. Like he's just not skilled enough or athletic enough or big enough to have like a strength in any of those areas is kind of like the best way to describe it, I think.
Yeah, obviously as a freshman, it's tough because I mean, all those things are true, but the question always becomes, does he have time to improve that and become better? But yeah, he hasn't shown the flashes of it. And you compare him to so many freshmen this year that are actually showing flashes, and it's like, man, why was this guy considered the fourth pick at one point?
Yeah. Let me look up. You know who I'm kind of intrigued by? I kind of like Braden Burries.
Arizona.
Yeah. Of course, like the one, like the most I saw of him was a game where he had like 30, where he shot the ball crazy well. And he was just, I forget who they were playing against, but he was just dominating. So, like, that's the thing early in the season is like, you see a,
come on lately, yeah.
yeah, but like you see it, you watch like a couple games of a player and it's like their best game so far, and you're gonna be swayed into thinking they're really good when you're not getting the full picture. That's why I kind of need a full season, but I don't know, just like a big guard that can knock down shots and plays with a ton of confidence, and seems like a 3-level scorer is pretty intriguing. I still wouldn't draft Koa Pete with the top 10 pick though. His teammate, I that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, so he's listed as 6'8", so he's probably 6'7" and doesn't shoot. That archetype just doesn't really translate into a player ever being a star. Like, the only guy that I guess is like that is Zion. He was like a generational athlete, but I mean, he's been injured, like, so he hasn't even he hasn't even been as good of a NBA product as expected. Nothing to do with his play though. It's just the injuries. Being that athletic and that strong, it's a tough mix.
Oh man, I just saw that Duke lost.
Yeah.
Texas Tech. I have that game recorded. I'm gonna watch it later. I watched what game was I watching today? Houston and who did Houston play? Arkansas. Yeah.
I will also say, I have the standings ready, but I will say this. I feel like I was pretty correct in fading Ricochet right now. I know it's only year 2, but he looks worse than he did his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's insane they drafted. What'd you say?
Yeah. He went number 1 year. I think that's insane.
Oh, yeah. They should have. Sar didn't want to work out for you. They should have drafted Castle. I think I had Castle number 2 that year, behind Sar at number 1. And Castle's looked great lately. Castle's looked awesome. I forget where I had Ricochet. I think I had him 7, 8. I don't remember how far I faded him, but I mean, Reed Shepherd's looked really good lately. Reed Shepherd had 28 today. And he's having a good year too after people were worried about his rookie season. So, yeah, Ricochet, I never understood it with Ricochet. Neither did Frank Mason Jr. I don't know if you remember that quote, but I played him in France. I don't know how he's the number 1 pick. People were saying, no, Frank Mason Jr. is just hating. Well, he's not really looking like a number 1 pick caliber player so far. Still early, but just not seeing it. Never really seen it with him.
Yeah.
Okay, standings. I'm gonna have to, I think, pop the graphic in unless this is up to date. I think this might be up to date. Okay, yeah, this is up to date. Okay, so we'll quickly scan through the East. I mean, nothing has really changed a whole lot here. You got a bunch of teams only separated by a few games, 2.5 games between 3rd and 9th. You got Milwaukee falling down to 11th. They're 11-17. They're a game and a half out of the 10th seed. It's funny because the good records in the play-in were the West last year, but now it's pretty balanced between the East and the West in terms of like how good the 10th seed is. Right now, Portland's 10th at 12-16. For reference, we'll take a look at that. But Charlotte's still close enough. I still feel like they could go on a run. Concanipple has been playing great. But yeah, you got. I just wonder what of these teams are going to separate themselves for third and fourth, because Philly, they're 16-11. They still haven't been the healthiest team, so if they could just ever get healthy, I think that's a top 4 team in the East. You got Orlando, who started slow, and you got Boston, who has been able to withstand not having Jason Tatum, because of course he's out for the season with his Achilles injury. Boston's been playing pretty well, and then Toronto's still hanging on there, but they've started to struggle a little bit lately. I think they're coming back down to earth, and then Cleveland is really struggling. It sounds like they're gonna maybe shake things up. I don't know where Eric went. Collab cam, bring him back. There we go. Do you think, Eric? Do you think Cleveland's gonna finally trade Garland this year?
I don't know, man. They've been such a disappointment. With how many injuries other teams had and stuff. I know they've missed some time with injuries as well, but there is no excuse for them not being up near the top of these standings right now.
Yeah. Yep.
I almost feel like they're going to be in a situation where they've got to move on from Garland just to balance out their roster a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel comfortable at this point just saying, all right, Donovan Mitchell's our point guard. We put the ball in his hands all the time anyway?
Yeah, probably. I don't know why you wouldn't be comfortable with that.
Yeah, and then like get a bigger guard next to him that can hit threes and defend.
Mm-hmm.
I would love somebody like Nesmith next to him in the backcourt. Just 3-and-D, competes. Jalen Tyson can provide you with a little bit of shot creation if you're going to keep starting him with a 3, or that's DeAndre Hunter. You're kind of reliant upon Donovan Mitchell for a lot of your playmaking for others. But like the way they run their offense is just kind of like by committee anyway. You know, they need Evan Mobley to take a step if they trade Garland. I mean, even if they don't trade Garland, they need Evan Mobley to take another step at this point. So they're an interesting team to watch because, yeah, they are not impressive so far this year. All right, let's take a look at the West. Let's get to the fun stuff. So Portland, a game behind Memphis for 9th. Memphis, the West has kind of made absolutely no sense the past like 3 or 4 days. So you have Memphis beat Minnesota. All right, so the game after that for both of these teams, what happens? You have Minnesota beat OKC, and you have Memphis lose to Washington at home. So can't go further apart than those two directions. Grizzlies beat the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves beat the best team in the league, and Grizzlies lose to the worst team in the league. So they lost today. Keyshawn George had 28, 7, and 7. One of the more improved players in the league. It's funny because Memphis had 37 points from Santi Aldama. If he's available, would you be interested? I mean, that doesn't really make sense for like Grant, but maybe another team wants Grant. We've heard Milwaukee wants Grant, apparently. A 3-team trade where you trade Grant and replace him with Santi Aldama. Does that intrigue you? If Santi Aldama is gettable. I don't think Santi Aldama will be gettable, but he's always kind of been a fun player in my mind.
I mean, stuff like that does intrigue me. I feel like the Blazers are in a situation where they're not even going to look to move to Grant. So I find it hard to think about his trade value or trading him right now because I don't think they're going to.
And Aldama hasn't shot the 3 ball quite well enough. He's 32% right now, 34% for his career. So, but he's always just been fun because, 7-footer with some skills. Still only 24 years old. But if he's a better shooter, he can pass a little bit. But, yeah, just not a good enough 3-point shooter. Be interesting to see that roster after the deadline, but they have been winning games up until today. Shout out to the Wizards for getting a win to help us inch a game closer to Memphis. And Dallas has lost a couple games, so look at that. Portland has a game and a half cushion now on Dallas and Utah. Sitting there in the 10th seed. It's nice to talk about teams we're ahead of for a spot we're trying to get, right? Clippers beat the Lakers today. That's a good win for them. Good win for the entire league. Make OKC's pick from them worse. You had Orlando beat Utah in overtime 128-127. Do you feel like Utah's going to like hang around all season as kind of like the Blazers from last year where they're close enough to say they're going for the play-in and delay tanking until the last minute?
I feel like they've done this the last few years. It hasn't really worked out for them in the lottery, but I feel like at some point they will pull the shoe. Now, maybe if Walker Kessler was healthy and not going to be out the rest of the season, I could maybe see it, but
yeah.
And they're scrappy. They're kind of like, I think that's a good comparison, just the team that plays hard and competes, but I think at one point they're going to start playing like Cody Williams more and stuff, and they're going to just lose naturally, you know?
Yeah, so they kind of did this 2 years ago. They were 9-16. They beat Portland 122-114 on the road. This was when they had like Luka Samanic and Kelly Olynyk, Taylor Horton-Tucker, Agbaji,
Lucas Sandwich,
Colin Sexton. But last year they were awful. They were at this point they're what, 10-17, 27 games in. Yeah, they were 7-20. They were 5-20 before that. Then won a couple.
They
games.
started tanking early last year.
Yeah.
Like sitting guys out the last few minutes in close games and stuff. Yeah.
Because they were 7-20 and then they were 10-36. So they were 3-16 after that point. Only ended up with 17 wins on the season. Lost a ton of games. Their last win of the season was a 133-126 overtime win against the Blazers. I don't even remember this game. Do you remember that game? Like in April when they beat us last year, 133-126 in OT?
Yeah.
I don't remember that game. I feel like I don't do a good job anymore like remembering games from last year.
It was in that, I mean, because in April every game mattered because we were falling down the standings, and
yeah,
I want to say that game tied us with the Spurs or something, or I forgot what happened, but like I felt like that was a big game in terms of losing it.
Delano Banton 4 for 16 from the field, 0 for 7 from 3. What was that stat line he had? What was it, the last game of the regular season? Where he had like the horrible stat line. If I recall correctly. Let's see here. Oh God, ESPN. No, I don't want to go back to 2010. Or am I thinking about it? No, he had 23 points. What's the game I'm thinking about? Was it the year before? I think it was the year before. I don't remember. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was the year before. Oh, Eric got collab cammed. I was sitting here. Oh, you got collab cammed. I was looking at ESPN.
Yeah, I did not get collab.
Do you know what game I'm talking about? Do you remember what game I'm talking about? The really bad Delano Banton game? From like 2 years ago, I found it. No, the one that was like historically bad.
Wasn't it like 0 for 15 or something?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 6 for 26 from the field, 0 for 15 from 3.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And I was sitting there like, dude, I wouldn't go 0 for 15 from 3.
I don't know if I got collab cam when I was making this joke, but I called him Caleb Banton or Delano Love.
Yeah. You did get collab cammed when you made that joke, but it's a great joke. I don't want to see us tank at the end of the year because Caleb Love might have a game where he shoots 40 times. But also, if we're tanking, I don't know. I kind of want to see that. 11 for Caleb Love would have like an 11 for 40 game with like 32 points. It would act like he played great. All right, so yeah, Portland's only 3 games back of Phoenix. They just lost to Golden State, so that was last night.
Phoenix last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Golden State play tonight? There's a lot of games tonight.
They played Phoenix tonight and won.
Oh, they played Phoenix tonight. Okay, I'm mixing up my days now. The internet really messed me up here. But yeah, so the Blazers don't get a game on the Warriors, but they gain a game on the Suns. Like, they're only 3 games back of the Suns. Portland's schedule coming up. They do have some winnable games. They do have a back-to-back against... It's not the easiest back-to-back. They start off with
Orlando.
It's Detroit and Orlando, so that's tough. But then after that, you got Clippers. I mean, Celtics are 3rd in the East, but home game, that's winnable. That'll be... Why does Eric keep getting collab camped? My goodness. That'll be Anthony Simons' return to Portland, and then versus Dallas, winnable game there, and then OKC, New Orleans, San Antonio, Utah. So it's not necessarily the easiest schedule, but lots of home games and hopefully some good health. But you just got to find a way to win games. Like, this team can beat Detroit. They almost beat Detroit on the road when they were shorthanded. This team can come into this game on Monday and win that game if they play well. It would be awesome to get 4 wins in a row, be sitting here at 13-16, like, all right, we're close to getting back to 500, you know. I wish 2 of the games earlier this season that they lost late, one of them being Orlando that's coming up, one of them being Detroit. I wish the Blazers found a way to get a couple more wins earlier this season so we could talk about this team being at 500. But at least you find ways to win games now. At least you're finding, even though it's been kind of ugly the past couple of games against the Kings. You know, there's 3 wins in a row. So good for the Blazers. Finally won back-to-back games, first time since October. Now you just got to find a way to hopefully get a win against Detroit or Orlando here. You know, if they split this back-to-back, I'm cool with that. It's 2 tough teams, but 2 teams that the Blazers already had games against on the road this year and played well against them and almost won. So hopefully they can show up. And especially with Sharpe playing this well, it gives me more hope that the Blazers can pack enough of an offensive punch. You know what's funny is before this game, they were 13th in adjusted offensive rating. Did you know that?
Nice.
This game probably isn't going to help, but it should help their defensive rating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now their adjusted offensive rating is 15th. Their defensive rating is 19th. Man, if this could just be the borderline top 5 defense we were hoping for, we'd be pretty good. Pretty good. But are they out of last place from shooting the 3? Offensive shooting. Oh, they're 28th now, 3-point shooting, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're finally out of last place there. Anyway, those are the standings. You still got kind of a pack of teams there, 2 through 6, with Spurs now in second, tied with Denver, Lakers, Houston, Minnesota. Trying to catch OKC, who's lost a couple games recently. The Spurs and the Timberwolves have joined us as teams to defeat OKC. But yeah, it's fun to talk about play-in picture instead of pulling up Tankathon, I will say.
Yeah.
Real quick before you end the stream, shout out Sleeper. I told you guys on the last Sleeper segment, you know, man, you're about to see the same game, right? So it wasn't really the same game. It was a lot lower scoring, but I did say, you know, you just saw Maxime Reynaud go off, so maybe next game pick his over on points. He had another good game, and I'm pretty sure he hit his over on points today. Because that's the type of player that, you know, their lines don't really catch up to how they're playing for a few games, you know. So if you see a player that's talented, young, kind of starting to break out, that's when it kind of makes sense to put them in your parlay, pick an over on their points or another stat, and basically get ahead of the crowd in terms of picking these overs. So Maxime Reynaud had another good game today for the Kings, 17 points, 11 boards. Did have 5 turnovers. Was a minus 23. Somebody in our group chat said he was talking crap with Clingan. I will say I wanted to say this about Clingan, but forgot. I do like how kind of he has a chip on his shoulder and he talks some smack and is kind of feisty.
Yeah, he's been feisty lately. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, I like that. It's always good to have somebody on that team. Opposing fan bases will hate that player and you'll love him when he's on your team. I think that's going to be Clingan for us.
Oh, we've needed a player like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys need to check out Sleeper. Use the code Uprise. You can get feisty with Sleeper with the free $20 deposit. Free $20 deposit. You got Christmas games coming up. You could put together a Christmas parlay. You can get, if you deposit money, you can get a 100% match up to $100 with the promo code Uprise, and it supports the channel. That can be your Christmas gift to the channel is using that code on Sleeper. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the post-game show. We'll be live again. Let's see. How many games are tomorrow? We're going to start back up picks against the spread. Oh, no. Tomorrow's Sunday. See, I'm losing track of my days already. Awesome.
Wow.
I'll be live at least on Monday with picks against the spread. Okay. We're going to start doing that in our Discord, though, so make sure you join our Discord. We've been doing it a little bit in our Discord. We've been on a hiatus here. But I have 2 weeks off, so I'm going to do some streams for that. On Monday, we'll do a stream. Honestly, maybe Monday, Tuesday. Maybe Monday, Tuesday for Picks Against the Spread streams, because why not? We got like 14 games on Tuesday. The Blazers play Monday and Tuesday against the Pistons and the Magic. So maybe you guys will have 4 streams in 2 days as a little early Christmas present. And hopefully the Blazers can take care of business. Eric, anything else?
No, thanks everyone for watching tonight. Appreciate you all. Thanks for hanging with us through the technical difficulties before the show started. And hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. And if you don't have a chance to catch one of the many games this coming week, hope everyone has happy holidays and all that.
Yep. At least my internet returned at some point tonight. That was very frustrating and very bad timing. Shout out to Xfinity for that one. But yeah, Blazers get a dub. They win 3 in a row. They almost choked again. Looked like they wanted to try and choke again. Shout out to Robert Williams for being the first Blazer to hit a couple clutch free throws, though. I didn't give him that shout out, which I meant to. So, of course, he's the one who makes 2 clutch free throws, I guess. At least somebody did. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Leave a like on the way out here. Easiest way to support the channel. Use that promo code Uprise on Sleeper. And we'll catch you on Monday. Have a good rest of your weekend. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.